Al-Salam, Queen Phoenix Ramadan L. Jackson, back in the light of Al Brazeera Cyber Network. And Ramadan Mubarak, and a lot of acknowledgments. And Joyous New Beginnings, Zinedine Muhammad Ahmed, June 17th. And myself, of course, Ramadan 7. Joyous New Beginning to myself. And I forgot Memorial Day. Don't want to leave out Memorial Day. I pray Allah will accept all of our siyam, all of our fasting, and this video conversation is regarding suckling from the infectious tits of Romulus. So let's get started. Okay. So, okay, yeah. So, many times, let me take this out because you know how I like to do it. It makes it easier on me. Okay. So, many times it's been asked, is there a God? Okay. And if there is, then why does he allow so many inhumane atrocities to occur in the world? Events that cause catastrophic illnesses, massive deaths, and destruction on a global scale. That is simply, and this inhumanity and all these events are simply denoted to footnotes regarding man's inhumanity to man. It's not taken very seriously. Many times it is asked, if there is such a all-powerful God, then why does he not use his all-power to intervene on behalf of saving or protecting humanity? Why does he not save his humanity that is compelled to believe in him from all those that are not? Okay, why doesn't he protect them? Well, the reality of the matter is, there is indeed an all-powerful God. Although the God of the natural world, okay, he is the God of the natural world. The God of the natural world is not the God that is worshipped in the all-male Republic of Romulus. Okay, that was, as we said, established by the beastly Neanderthal Romulus. Okay, so he worships the God of his commercial world is Iblis, the Shaitan. Okay, the jinn, his jinn master. Remember, we refer to the jinn as the Anunnaki. Okay, it goes back years and years, thousands of years. Okay, each empire that was established was based upon the Anunnaki jinn empire that preceded it. Okay, morals and ethics and rules and conducts and all of these things. Okay, and spirituality as well, with the same ideologies and practices and principles. Conquer, war, conquer, war, conquer, and war. Okay, conquest of humanity. Okay, so yeah, it was built upon his spiritual father. Okay, because remember, okay, we said that the jinn was the breeded man. Okay, hybrid man. Okay, so, and that hybrid man was the Neanderthals. Okay, now, so his spirituality is what? The three-headed dog that represents his God. Okay, his God nation of men, which is what? The Vatican. Okay, implanted in the Vatican. Okay, established as the Vatican. That is his one world order, his one world beastly order. Okay, the Neanderthal Commercial Republic, okay, was constructed to counterfeit the natural world and the laws, the natural laws of physics by which it is maintained, and it was established upon by the true God, which is referred to as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because remember, as the video reported in regards to Egypt and Anubis, the dog of a former, well, a pagan deity of ancient Egypt, right? Anubis, the dog god, right? And it said from ancient times, God was referred to, a dog was referred to as God, okay? So hence the three-headed dog god, okay, which they perceive as the Trinity, okay? So that's why it was important to take notes. So that's the God of the commercial world, the republic, okay, because it's not a world, it's a conglomerate, right, of national, multinational corporations, right, but that's big enough, spanning the globe, so it's an empire, but it's, you know, but it's still seen as republic, right, because it's controlled by, like, the governments, right, or it's not controlled by the government, it controls governments, right, republics, okay, so that's why I said the republic. Okay, so that's their true God, Iblis, the jinn, Baal, they refer to him as Baal or Moloch or something like that, okay, but he's still the pagan god Iblis, okay, and as I said, whether the empire was Egypt, Persia, Spain, Britain, Rome, Greece, or even America, okay, it was established for the sake of worshiping Baal, of worshiping Moloch, right? Though the people knew it not, the citizens knew it not, of course, but those who control the commercial empire, who own that commercial empire, the central banking rather, like, okay, established by what, as we said, are headed by Rome, right? Which was established by Romulus, right? In their dog-eat-dog world, right? That whichever empire it was, it doesn't make any, regardless of what empire it was still worshippers of Rome. I mean, worship of the Jinn Empire, right? Still a Jinn commercial world or empire. And Romulus attempts what? To imitate the natural world by manipulating its laws of physics, and exploiting its symbols that that the beast may propagate its Jinn republic as authentic. And the commercial republic was to substitute nature and become reality for the majority of the African world, using such sacred symbols they attach to the commercial world. They make it appear as if it is reality. Okay, so that's the foundation of their world. Okay, now, so they want to make it seem like they want to make it, they want it to appear to be reality, right? And so they would extend a sense of reality and legitimacy to the false flag, God-headed, fake God-headed paradigm, right? And the beast could claim his paradigm as holy and legitimate, right? And natural, and nature, despite the fact that they're destroying nature to accomplish this goal, right, of constructing this fake paradigm, or this counterfeit reality, altered state of reality, right? And then they want to promote it as legitimate and even imperial, superior, right, to nature, above all others, from sea to shining sea, okay? in his and thus extending a pseudo-spiritual life to his pseudo-imperial commercial empire, using such sacred symbols as geometry, location, like over the vortex, knowledge of celestial bodies, how they rotate when they go back or retrograde or go forward or direct, manipulating the power grid by usurping it's positive energy, and it's from the poles by manipulating what the electromagnetic energy from the poles. What else? And as I said, performing certain rituals at certain times a year according to certain bodies, and then standing in for the certain bodies as if they represent those certain bodies. For instance, representing Venus would represent the goddess of love and all this kind of stuff, and Aphrodite and all these kind of stuff. In reality, yes, there are people who represent, like we said, who's born at certain times of the year, and because of that, that connects them to certain. That's how you know that they are legitimate to heirs. Let's say of like when the prophet Isa returns. There are signs that you expect him to adhere to, not so much adhere to, but to be connected with, and there are certain events that are supposed to happen before he comes, let's say. Then you know he's the one that reflects that. I mean is that person, because he falls in line with such certain spiritual expectations as it relates to the timing, as it relates to the celestial stars. Like I said one time, I said that a comet, 2 comets were supposed to appear within the year, and then that would, and then certain moons were supposed to happen, unlike blood moons. Okay, certain celestial events happen at the time certain people are supposed to arrive, right? Or certain prophets are supposed to arrive. So they try to stand in and pretend and imitate that, and say so that they can pretend to be those, like let's say the false prophet. Okay, that's what they do. By trying to pretend they are certain celestial bodies. Okay, representatives of certain celestial bodies when they don't have the not the calling, but the credentials, spiritual credentials. Okay, that's what I mean. Okay, now they do this to further manipulate natural laws of attraction, right? By performing certain events according to certain celestial times, or certain events that are happening. They do certain events, okay, such as when the Pope is to arrive in the United States in September, or the Pope, the Pop, because that's what he was, the Papa, spiritual Papa. He's a spiritual Papa. Okay, the Pope is just to give it some anonymity. Okay, so you won't know what they're talking about, and then a bit of make it seem holy when it really means spiritual Pop, P-O-P, Papa, or P-O-P-P-A, Papa, the Father, spiritual Father. Okay, but they didn't elevated it to the Pope, like that gives a certain title. Okay, that makes every man a Pope. Every man who's a father to a child, a Pope. Okay, every man is a Pope. Every man is a father. Every man that has a child is a Pope. Every man that has a child is a father. Okay, your daddy was the Pope. Okay, but anyway, so he's a spiritual, but he's a spiritual Papa. Okay, but anyway, when he comes, right, he's coming on the, he planned his trip. They do this. He organized his trip around the time that, the the equinox that will have just passed, the autumnal equinox or the autumn equinox, and then they're to be a meteor shower, so that they can get this energy, this power, you know, to have power over humanity. He's a Neanderthal too. He's a Gog too. Those people are Gogs too. You know, Gog is even in his name. You know, so anyway, so and he's a Neanderthal. I mean, I'm sure if they did a blood test, they find all kind of Neanderthal chromosomes in him. But anyway, yeah, they do things certain time of year to get certain power, right? To validate their position as what? Papa or the spiritual father, right? The Holy Spiritual Father, okay? And the only thing that makes him holy is the fact that he's related to a dog, right? Related to a bitch. Okay. And that high breeding, right? He has jinn in him, jinn, right? That's what makes him royal. The fact that they have jinn, right? Related to the jinn, because the pharaohs and all that was supposed to be spiritual related to the jinn, right? And then what else did they create the dog from? As we said, the dog was created from what? Spit, and then that portion of man's body on which the shaitan or Iblis spit upon because he was jealous. And it was also, I read one time where when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was creating man, and the body of man was, you know, being prepared, and he would walk by it and he would see it and he would kick the body. Okay, that's how much jealousy and hatred he has for man. Okay, and that spirit is in his Neanderthal race, right? So if he did that spiritual fusion, okay, whereby, you know, to create the hybrid, the spiritual breeding, where remember where it said that the sons of God, right, went into the women, the daughters of men, right? That spiritual breeding, right? And then what? Breeded them to the dog. That would be easy to do, right? Because what? The dog is already up in the body of man in the spit of Satan, right? And then all they did was add the spirit, right? To give that body life, right? So now we got this hybrid being upon man that occurred thousands and thousands of years. This history that they give mankind is bull. It's bogus. It's not real. I'm thinking, oh, it only goes back maybe 4, 5, 6,000 years. No, it goes back thousands upon hundreds of thousands of years. I would even imagine that Australia is a landmine for, I mean not a landmine, but a gold mine for understanding archaeology, or not archaeology, but I forget what they call it, but when they do the study the history of man. But I would imagine that Australia is a gold mine for that. That hybrid breeding, you know, and that's not, I'm not trying to insult the Australians or anything like that, but that's what I imagine, you know. And then I believe this happened before Pangea. I'm not before Pangea, but during the time of Pangea. And I'm also suspicious that the flood of Noah's Ark, during Noah's Ark, the time of Noah's Ark, substantially curtailed that activity of that hybrid inbreeding. Okay, so, but that's the kind of stuff they do during these times to get the energy from the celestial sphere. And the temporal sphere, meaning the earth, or the astrosphere would be the celestial sphere. And then the temporal sphere would be, or the realm, we'll call it a realm. The astral realm or celestial realm would be like the planets. Then we got the temporal, which would be our domain, and that would be the physical, our earth, our, you know, our world, you know. So they want total power of all of it to control, you know, utilize the power of it all. So they what do we say, they harness the energy from the grid and then from the magnetic energies, and that's what they want all that gold for. That's what they wanted, that gold. Put the gold on these pyramids and set up these antennas. Like, what did they do? Cleopatra's needle, okay, the obelisk, right, and direct this energy, right, So first they attract it, right? They attract it, and then they harness it, right? And then they utilize it to what? To cause things to gravitate, to levitate. But they need gold, right? Because one thing I heard too, they take the gold or powder or something and make the jinn, okay? Those spirits that when they embody themselves and live longer or something like that. I don't know. I read about. I remember reading about it, but it was some time ago, so I don't have accurate information. But I believe I remember one time they take it, and the greatest thing they do, use it as a conduit to attract this energy, because it's very intense, right? The brightness of it, right? And then they channel it, right, for where to go, okay, and then cause it to levitate things, right? And then they themselves try to represent this energy, you know, like a man representing Ra, representing the energy of the sun, and then they have the female and that will represent the masculine energy, okay, the man's energy, which is the sun. We talked about that before. Represents masculine direct energy, right? Okay, and then they have the female to represent who? Venus, the female energy, right? Because we have up and down, above and below, right? That's the game they play, right? Okay, but anyway, back to these hybrid, right? These hybrid beings, okay? These hybrid beings, okay? Okay. Well, we'll talk about natural laws. So those are aspects of natural laws that they use to represent, to keep their little system appearing to be legitimate. In reality, it's all fake. It's all fake. Okay, it's all a facade. Okay, so they manipulate the natural laws of attraction by standing in and perpetrating and pretending to be gods and all this kind of stuff, when it's all powerful facade. It's a facade of being all powerful. Okay. Let me see, what are we talking about? Okay. Yeah, his League of Commercial Nations are all a facade. Okay, in reality, the universe, what do we say? The universe, and they try to feed off of the natural world, okay, the natural, and break down the natural laws that sustain nature, okay, and they do all this, right, by manipulating the natural laws and trying to get energy from the celestial bodies, right, to maintain their deception. And at this time, they have no power, okay? They really, really have no power. If they never had any power, they have even less now, especially since many people are waking up to understand what's really going on, okay? It is a para-trans physical, okay? These are like they're these Neanderthal, you know, Neanderthals that are put in place of leadership, okay? They're and these Neanderthals, okay, as we said, they're trans-physical characters, such as is demonic, okay? It is demonic. They get it from demonic spirits, and it's maintained through what? Fear. Their empire is maintained by what? Jinn spirits. Fear, massive bloodshed, mental and physical enslavement of the human population on a global scale. Their destruction is perpetrated on the global scale. So if you think, oh, you're safe in America, you're not. Okay, they're just they're just buying time till they can make America weak enough to overcome the African people in America. Okay, because we're all alike. It don't matter if my hue is more pronounced than let's say someone who was born of Irish descent, okay, or Polish descent, or Spanish descent, or Mexican descent, or Japanese descent, okay? We're all human, and we're all enemies to a Neanderthal one world order, a so-called new world order, right? We're all enemies, and in time their objective is to get rid of all of us. Okay, now la law. Now they all right, and so and what? Keeping us segregated from one another. Like, don't get involved with a black man. Don't get in this racism. Don't get involved with a Mexican man. Don't get involved with this. Keep it the best. Stay white race. Stay to yourselves, because they halfway goddamn got you. Okay, because what did we say? The melanin helps open your crown chakra. So get rid of all your melanin. You get rid of all your ability to utilize your crown chakra, right? And you open up your pineal gland, right? So that's the game. The more melanin you have, the greater your opportunity for opening your pineal gland. And they know that's your crown chakra. And then you'll be able to see the reality for what it is. But the game is, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't think about being what you were inherently created to be, and that is African. Okay? To have hue. Okay? Yeah. So that's the game they're playing with you. But eventually, you being human, they're going to get rid of you too. It's game. This is a very serious time, a very real time. Okay? A very serious time. Now, and what did we talk about too? We talked about depopulation, right? Okay, because remember, if they're Neanderthals and they, excuse me, I gotta go. Okay, yeah. Okay, if they're Neanderthals and their objective is to get rid of humanity, well, that is their objective, but the point is, okay, it's a global coup d'etat, right? But anyway, so if their objective is to depopulate the world, it's because you have the potential to open your crown chakra, to open your pineal gland, your third eye, right? They can't control you. It's beyond the, right now, this 7 billion is beyond their control, okay? Because remember, they're not that intelligent. They're not. They're intelligent only because you don't see them. Anything has power over somebody if they don't see it. I mean, what? A fly has power over the person if they don't see it. Okay? What? You ask that question. What's that buzzing? A mosquito. In the dark? A mosquito has power, right? And then get up the next morning and just be itching all over because the person didn't have to see them. If they would have seen them, they could have done something, right? Okay, same thing with the Neanderthals, because humanity thinks, oh, that they can, you know, just adhere to the commercial consciousness, right? The consciousness in the commercial world, and abide by its codes of conduct, right? Classism and racism and all of these aspects that that would be okay, you know, but that's just not the case. That's just what conquer and divide. Okay, so anyway, so that's how they maintain it, right? Fear and massive bloodshed, wars and starvation and all of that kind of stuff. Okay, so and that's how they keep humanity under control, right? And as long as they can control, right, they're going to stay, as long as they stay in control, you're going to stay oppressed, okay? You've got to have your sovereignty. You've got to have your own sovereignty, because that's what they have. As long as you let them represent you, they have sovereignty over you. They have power over you, and they know this, okay? Now, and as I said, 7 billion people with the thought of opening their crown chakra, that's terrifying to them. Okay, because then they'll have absolutely no power, because they have no power to open a crown chakra of their own. They don't have a crown chakra. They don't have a third eye. Okay? Because what? They're not human. Okay, well, let's put it this way. They're not human. They have flesh of human. They have the flesh of human beings, but if the spirit, to be human, you have to have the spirit of when Allah breathed in the spirit or the body or the nostrils of man, okay? He blew a life into him through his nostrils, right? That's, okay, that's what to be man, that's what a human being has to have, the breath of life in them that was given to them during creation. They're not the humanoids that evolved as a result of genetic manipulation, okay, and have the jinn spirit in them. So we have two beings on earth that both look like human, okay. Those humanoids created by gene manipulation, which was done by what, the jinn Anunnaki, okay. Those and the giants were a result of that, right? And humans, okay, who migrated, who were all African, migrated, who are all African, of African origin, and migrated out through a different, you know, and you know what, I'm even wondering if they migrated out. It may have been through Pangea, okay, the breaking up of continental drift. It may have been a result of that, you know, because this is what I kind of think. I kind of think that what happened was those who left, when they start to when the people start to live farther and further apart, yeah, that's a natural aspect of migration. But this is also what I believe. As the people, those Anunnaki, those jinn, okay, when they were doing their little gene manipulation, they went into the isolated places. That's why you have these places like Machu Picchu, and I may not be saying it correctly, but there's a place, I believe it's in Peru, I can't remember exactly the place, but and again, places like Egypt too, where the Anunnaki went in these isolated places, like desert places, to build, you know, their let's say their laboratories where they could do their gene manipulation, okay? And that's why you have these big old stone temples, and they look like they were laser cut and things like that. Okay, they go in these isolated places, and they build these high advanced cities, right? And then people start to migrate into those cities. They slowly start to come in, and you know, to those cities, immigrate to those cities. That's what I'm saying. They start to immigrate to those cities. And then once they start to really see what's going on, like, you know, well, let's put it this way, not so much see what's going on, but when the Anunnaki jinn people start to, or spirits, and their little project starts to become threatened, where people start to, it can be potentially exposed, they themselves begin to migrate out. That's what I think. And then they begin to build new empires and things like that. That's what I think. That's when they have their big migration out of the cities, when they start to become threatened by exposure. That's what I think. You know, because they can't continue like the giants. You know, they tried to hide that for so long, and even through archaeology, I've heard you talk about, if the person talks about that, it's like that's something they want to keep hush-hush on. Assalamu alaikum, we're going to go to video 2.